Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host today, Andrew Galdape, with my co-host.
Bethany Perez.
And today we will be informing you guys about how people use silence and how it is read. Silence has many uses, so it is often misread. People tend to judge it right away. So we are going to get to the point, and we are going to start with what we think about silence. So what comes to our mind when we hear silence? So I want to ask my co-host what she thinks about silence.
Well, whenever I think about silence, I automatically associate silence with, no sound.
No sound.
So, there's nothing there.
So you would say that silence would be an absence of sound.
Yeah, when someone is silent, there's, nothing there.
Right. So I feel like silence can be used in so many ways. Like, for example, it can be used to create tension. But it all just depends on the situation. It can also be used to provide or create peace, to create a dramatic effect, to create suspension or mystery, to create fear, and it can also be used to protect yourself from fear. Okay, guys, so let's get into it with more detail. In the beginning, I provided you guys with some examples on how silence can be used. So the first example I gave you guys was how silence can be used to create tension in a situation. Silence can make you feel pressured, awkward, or just disturbed. But this all depends on the situation and on the individual. We're all different. So an example would be how silence can be used to create tension would be in a classroom. I want you to imagine yourself in a classroom, sitting in the back row, not paying attention. Suddenly the teacher calls out your name, and she tells you to answer a question. You gaze your eyes at the whiteboard and notice the room goes silent. Dead silence enough to hear a pen drop. Immediately you panic and you start thinking of a way to answer. So you start mumbling, you start stuttering just to feel the silence in the room. You feel pressured to answer as the silence gets longer and longer. By now you have not thought of an answer and you just wish the silence was filled with noise. So you finally speak and say you do not know the answer just to get out of the situation. So this is a good example because that silence created you to speak. That silence created that tension in the room. Another thing that also helped to create that tension is maybe the people were staring at you. Maybe the teacher was locking eyes at you. It caused you to think. It pressured you to speak. So that is one example silence can be used to create tension. So we actually have a viewer who has reached out to us and told us a little bit about what she thinks about silence and how it makes her feel. So here we go.
Anonymous 101 says, silence makes me feel awkward. It causes an urge inside me to speak. It puts pressure on me and sometimes irritates me and causes me to lose control.
Wow, it causes her to lose control. That's definitely intense. I can somewhat relate to her, to why she would feel like the need to feel that silence. Maybe if it makes her feel awkward, because sometimes when I'm not enjoying the silence, and it depends on the situation, whether I'm with other people and the room is filled with silence, I think it's really awkward when you can just hear it. Like, what do you think? How does that make you feel in this situation?
Well, it doesn't necessarily make me feel awkward because I'm already an awkward person. That's just me. It's more of a normal thing.
It's more of a normal thing. And it's crazy to think that it's to the point where she loses control. So she needs to feel that silence. And I find it awkward, a silence like that. And, well, you just find it normal.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why to find it awkward. I feel as if people should find, not necessarily happiness, but enjoy each other's, presence, even though it's in, awkward silence.
Right.
So...
I don't. Well, yeah. Well, to you, right? But to me, it's like, well, what if you don't know the persons? You don't know the people who. Like, you go to a family occasion and you haven't talked to your cousin in years, or maybe you never talked to them ever. How are you gonna? How are you supposed to enjoy that, their presence? You get me?
Yeah.
Like it's just gonna be awkward. Like you guys just gonna be looking at each other in silence. Maybe you don't know what to talk about. Maybe you don't. You guys don't want to talk to each other. You know. So it's like we all have different perspectives on this. You know. It makes me feel awkward. To you, it's normal. To her, it makes her lose control. So, and it just comes to my point. The point we made was that silence can be used many ways, and it can be read many ways, and it can make people feel differently. By just that same silence, it makes everyone differently. Everybody has their own perspective on it. Another example of how silence can be used would be to provide or create peace. We know that silence can be soothing to one's mind and bring pleasure to the life of an individual. For example, people who meditate, they use the type of silence as a form of relaxation. I'm pretty sure somewhere along the way we might have used silence to provide peace for each other, for yourself, whatever the case might be. And here's an example of how I believe someone would use it in a situation. I want you to imagine you are a mother of 6 children. Your responsibilities are to take care of your children, right? That means you feed them, you bathe them, you change them, love them, you pay attention to them, etc., right? Children are energetic and they don't know right from wrong. All day they run around misbehaving, creating chaos by screaming, fighting, playing, making a mess. And by the end of the day, all you feel is that exhaustion. You feel your head pounding immensely, causing a headache. All you have yearned all day is that very bit of silence which will bring you relaxation, peace, and quiet after a long day. So, silence can help provide you with that peace. We all need that every once in a while.
That's definitely true. From my experience, I use silence on the daily to bring me relaxation. I like quiet evenings where I can just enjoy a cup of lemonade while sitting back in silence. But then again, people may not enjoy this type of silence.
Yeah, well, I can agree on that too. Like, I love to just work in silence. I love just spending time with myself in silence. You know, especially after a long day, after a long, stressful day. Okay, so moving on to our next point, and that is how silence can be used to seem mysterious. Silence can seem mysterious even if it is not intended. This type of silence is by far the most misinterpreted. Well, from my experience. Definitely being a silent person makes another individual wonder and make assumptions about you and your silence. We have all heard the saying, I don't know if you guys have heard it, but beware the quiet ones. People are always looking out for the quiet ones because you never know what their next move is. So people like create that suspicion, and they're basically you're a mystery to them. They want to figure you out. Because if you don't talk or you speak your mind, you are not in the system. So why do people just read people who are silent, people who are quiet?
That's scary.
That's scary. Why would they?
Well, as you stated, that people find that as like they don't know what their next move is, and
So basically, like I said, they will be seen as mysterious because you want to know what their next move is, and you're gonna judge them. You're gonna misread their silence by just what if they're just shy? What if they're just quiet because they want to be shy?
yeah, I mean, I understand that when you say they're shy. I mean, all shy people are quiet, but you never know. Like, they can just portray themselves as shy, but you don't really know what's in their mind or what they're thinking of at the time.
Right.
So it's just, I guess sometimes it just remains a mystery. Like, you never know what's gonna
Right.
happen with them or what's going on in their head.
Right, because I know that most people say that people who have like done crimes and stuff, they're like, oh well, he was really quiet when he was younger.
Yeah, like the least expected one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's when that quote comes, beware the quiet ones, because we always tend to look at the quiet ones because we don't know what they're going to do next. So this brings me to my next point, which is how silence can be used to create fear. And that can also be used to protect yourself from fear. So like, most people intimidate you. Have you ever like experienced someone intimidating you? Like, and you're just there, like they're looking at you in silence. And what if that guy, maybe the guy's size or the guy's girl size, whatever, is intimidating you. Like maybe she's strong or something. But if they come up to you, or if they're just staring at you from a distance, just in silence, not saying anything, there's no purpose for them to be staring at you. Wouldn't you find that as scary?
I mean, yeah. I wouldn't find it like intimidating because, well, that's not gonna scare me. You know
Right,
what I mean?
okay, like let's say, depending on the situation. So let's switch the situation. You're at a Walmart parking lot, right? And you see a 6'5" dude staring at you while you're making your way to the car, staring at you in silence. How'd that make you feel?
That would kind of make me feel a little bit uncomfortable because it's like, why are you staring? Like,
Right.
why are you not saying anything?
Right.
Like, do you want something to do with me? Are you gonna do something to me?
Right.
That kind of just creates like thoughts.
And if you keep asking him like, well, why are you staring at me? And he's just in silence. How would that make you feel? That would make you feel scared.
I guess, yeah, in a way. I mean, I never know what that person is gonna do.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure we've all experienced a stare down. You know, most of the time we think twice about like what is occurring, and sometimes it causes fear. So I don't know how we respond in that. Maybe we would just get in our car and leave if that scenario of the Walmart parking lot.
I feel like I would be more scared of, like, let's say that I knew of the person, but I didn't really have like a bad, like, not reputation or
experience with them.
I don't know the word, but it's not. It's like if I know of them, then I would kind of be less scared. But if it was just like a random person, then I would be like, okay, I don't know who you are, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Okay, so our next point is how silence can help you with self-control, or to have control over someone or something. So we actually had an experience, me and her, with the silent treatment. I did use the silent treatment on her once. I used this type of silence in hopes of making the situation we were dealing with better. We were having a disagreement one night, and she had made a remark that was very out of line. So I truly did not know how to respond. So it occurred to me not to respond. I figured if I kept adding on to the argument, it would only make things worse. And she would get away with what she said to me. So I went silent. I chose to go silent because I wanted her to have time to think and realize, maybe in hopes for an apology from her, or maybe just not an apology, maybe for her just to evaluate how she was acting or what was going on. However, like this didn't go the way I was intending it to be. I was using this type of silence. So here are her thoughts on the silent treatment.
Well, it made me feel as if you like purposely wanted to ignore me because of the situation that happened that previous night.
Well, my intentions were not bad. You know, like the reason why I quote unquote ignored you or gave you the silent treatment would be for you to evaluate your thoughts, for you to like think like, well, you know, maybe I did wrong. For you to self-realize, instead of me just begging to you like, oh, or like telling you like, oh, well, you told me this, like, why did you tell me this, blah, blah, like, you know, like, it's
You
better.
wanted it to come from me.
Yeah, I wanted you to come from it. Like, I mean, I wanted it to come from you. And by just staying silent, that is, like, it made it just more dramatic because you were like, you didn't know. Like, you didn't know what I was trying to get out of you, right?
Yeah.
And I could have just told you, like, oh, hey, like, I want you to apologize, but
It wouldn't mean anything.
it wouldn't mean anything to me or to you, because you would just be like, okay, well, I just apologize and he'll get over it, right?
Yeah.
So if I gave you that silent treatment, I wanted things to be better, and all my intentions were good. It's not like, you know how some people say, like, that, oh, silent treatment is like emotional abuse. Like, what would you say about that? What would you say about it?
I mean, I can kind of see where it is emotional abuse because, like, why? Like, okay, I understand how you say that it's supposed to help, like, the situation get better, but to me, it only made it worse because it's like, what's the purpose of ignoring me? And, like...
Well, my purpose was for you to realize, for you to self-realize.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, it really didn't help me realize anything. Yeah. And I just feel like it was stupid of you, like, no offense, but it was stupid of you to do that because it made me feel a lot of things. I had a lot of thoughts, like, running through my head.
Okay, but those are just assumptions you made.
Okay, but how was I supposed to know your intentions when
exactly.
you just ignored me?
And that's how I used that silence for you to realize in that situation, instead of me telling you that all the time. Like, sometimes I get tired of explaining, like, how I feel when you don't try to make things better. You just give me, like, a cold shoulder and, like, whatever. So I wanted you to feel, I guess I wanted you to feel what I have felt in those situations. So I don't know if I came off to you as, like, me having control, like me trying to have control over the situation. Would you consider that? Like me trying to have control over the situation, like...
I guess you could, like, in that situation, it can, like, prove your dominance, I guess, you know? But it just made everything worse. I don't see
but like, in the eyes of another person, if they evaluated our situation, would that make me a bad guy?
No, I don't believe it would make you, like, a bad guy, but...
I feel like it would make me a bad guy in the beginning, like, if they see, you know, someone ignoring, like, their girlfriend or their boyfriend, like, right away you see it and you're like, oh, well, what the hell, why is he ignoring her? Like,
yeah.
Why is he being an asshole? You know, stuff like that. Like.
But then when they get the other side of the story, that's when they're like, oh, okay, like,
yeah.
he has a reason to, yeah.
So, it's like we have to look at both perspectives before we judge a situation. And when I used that silence, my intentions were not bad at all. My intentions were not to have control over this situation. Maybe a little, but for you to self-realize, you know, everything was going to be better, but you misinterpreted the message I was trying to...
I misinterpreted it because the previous night we had just had an argument. So what is that going to tell me, or what is that going to show me, like, the next day, or the same night, right, going into the next day? That shows me, like you want to do it because either you're mad or you just want to, like, get back at me. You know what I mean?
It just made...
So that's how I saw it, as you trying to just be mean.
Yeah, and that wasn't my intention. So we both... You read the silence. Not technically not wrong, because you didn't know my intention on the silence, but you see how people can judge the way someone else uses silence just because they want to make assumptions. You get me?
Yeah.
And when I explained to you the situation, like, no, I was doing this because of that, you still felt like it was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to fast forward to today. How do you feel? Like, do you still feel that it was wrong of me to do that?
I mean, I don't necessarily feel that it's, like, wrong. I mean, I get like, I understand what you were trying to do and try to get out of me, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I almost left you. I almost left you because that just makes me feel so, like, unwanted and
Unwanted.
yeah.
So in some ways it is dangerous, you know, like I definitely took a risk like by using that silence because like you said you could have left me, right? But I was willing to take that risk just so we can be better. And if it was like that our relationship was at stake, then so be it, right? Because at the end of the day we will both be adults and like realize like, hey, you know, like we gotta fix whatever we argued about. And that's the thing about silence, like don't just stay silent after an argument. And that's not what I did, right? I used the silent treatment, but after that I explained to you the situation why I did it, right? I didn't just stay silent and be like, oh well, moving on, or
Yeah.
you know, like speak to it. If not, that silence can be dangerous because a lot of things are left unsaid. I just believe silence has different meanings in like different situations. It just depends on the situation, you know, but definitely look at both perspectives before you judge. So, we're gonna go ahead and close. Like as you can see, silence can be used in many different ways, and therefore, silence is often misinterpreted. It is rare that the silence being intended is read correctly in the eyes of another individual. This is why, like I said, we should always evaluate that silence both ways. And just a little tip, if you are planning to use silence in any one of these ways or in any way you want to use it with caution because, like I said, I was intending it this way and she read it that way and it could have just led to a disaster. So silence is going to be effective no matter what. If it's wrong or right, you know, good or bad, it's going to be effective. It's going to have an effect on something. So it is very powerful. It can really help you, but it can also damage you or someone because it's dangerous. So next time you find yourself using or reading silence, think about all the ways silence is used. You might find yourself being silent while observing because silence is used all around us.